Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the panel discussion. I have the first question here, and the first question I would like to ask Rohit. What are the most effective strategies for CDOs to align data insights with business goals and ensure actionable outcomes as well? Rohit.
Hi all, I'm Rohit Chintawar, I'm part of HR & Johnson. If you have come across beautiful tiles, most probably it is Johnson Tiles. So that's one of our products. We are primarily a building materials company, about $1 billion, part of the Raheja group. I lead the digital transformation piece. I've just joined 6 months back, so a lot of things that are going as initiatives. So primarily, and this basically just started, right? So we've started the digital journey, and primary goal was to set up a digital roadmap, and that was completely in terms of alignment with overall vision, the next 5 years goals that we have, the overall annual tactics that got built. So any strategy that, especially on the digital side, has to be aligned towards the business goals. We also have to understand what are the challenges that the business is facing. So the solutions that are going to be built should be to amplify the business growth and solve the business problems. So that's the basic foundation. And while we are building a digital strategy with a lot of solutions for each function, the underlying is the data. And the data strategy that we are following and we truly believe is very important is to have a single source of truth and also have a very connected data enterprise solution, which means there are no siloed data. We are looking at data as a whole. Multiple systems are talking to each other. And also we need to build a robust backend that is scalable. So that's basically trying to connect the dots. That's very important. The third very important thing for us is capability building, because data is always looked from a reporting person. But with all the AI and ML use cases that are coming, it's very important that we are increasing the digital translators in the business. We are also increasing their capabilities on how to read the data better. So that is also very important. So these 3 pillars are important to kind of solve the business problems. Some of the examples, there are many examples, but I can give you some of the examples that we have done. So we've built a CRM platform, and there's been a lot of data that got generated. So one of the major aspects is to create a PJP for a salesperson. So he has to create a permanent journey plan whenever he's visiting the market. And we dumb down that application to a level where he's just understanding what it needs to take to meet his goals. So that's one activity that we have done, but there got a lot of data that got generated. So we worked on an AI model which is giving him a smart PJP. So for example, on every Monday morning it will tell you what route to follow. And it will also optimize the route so that he's meeting more and more customers. So as small use cases, this to building digital twins, as large as doing those things. So data can do a lot of magic, but everything has to kind of come together. That's very important. With people's capabilities.
Data can definitely do wonders, but it can do a lot on the other side of it as well. We'll move on to the next question. I will ask Mr. Prasad, how can CIOs and CTOs support CDOs in creating a culture that values data-driven decision-making across all levels of the organization?
Sure, thank you. Thank you for this question. It all depends on what kind of organization you are working with. In my experience, I have seen definition of CIOs being varied. Definition of CDOs being varied, and even CTOs. So the first expectation is not from these roles, but actually this is from the clarity from the organization. So assume you have 3 roles, or maybe just CTO and CDO, or maybe CIO and CTO and CDO, and too many variations of it. Whether there is a clarity on the definitions and there is a clear-cut definition what CIO will do, what CTO will do, and what CDO will do. In my experience, I have seen some struggles. CTOs moving into CDOs role, and CDOs inching into whether CIO or maybe CTO roles. That's the first aspect. Second is collaboration. Collaboration means whatever business, quarterly business targets you have, For example, for a business leader, of course, it will come into your data strategy, quarterly data strategy, quarterly data strategy, which is your roadmap. Question is how you are going to enable those requirements or maybe those expectations. That's where come enablement. Collaboration, and collaboration also brings us to third point, which is like enablement. Enablement means if you are trying to build, if you are CDOs, your first objective is your company should be data driven. Two, you have relevant, useful, timely data. Third, you have enough AI ML capabilities, which means capabilities. And third is, next is solutions. And fourth is usability. And if you are in a different shapes, it depends actually, I said where you are coming from. If your organization mandates you to monetize your data, then even revenue is part of your CDO portfolio. Now this enablement, if you talk about this enablement, the CIO is needed to help you or provide you infrastructure. Typically the role of CIO is making the infrastructure ready for the organization. So whether right information, right infrastructure is there or not. Second is if you have self-serve tools, whether they have self-serve tools, because once you are building data culture, you need to have those self-serve tools because business people might ask different tools. Operations might ask different tools. Even data teams might need different set of tools. Do you have enough tools? Tooling requirement you have across organizations, across all business functions, whether you have them or not. That's one. Second is data cataloging, and this is very critical. Wherever I have worked, whether it's big organization, digital natives, and you will be surprised, even digital natives, and even startups, all shades of the companies. And I always struggle to find a clear-cut definition of whatever data we have, which means it's not just about quality. It means somebody has built the system. Now you have taken the role, the pattern. Now you have to build system. You have to understand what it is coming from, where it's coming from, and to make some sense out of it. Lineage. All these things are very critical. And it takes huge amount of time to understand what's proper. For example, some product manager named some of the field, customer underscore location. Somebody named customer location. Something, there is something location. Correct? I'm not talking about even data quality. I'm just talking about documentation. If somebody has built some systems before me, whether it's usable, useful, and relevant to me or not in these days, then next comes, once you have built some solutions, right? So there is this CDO guy, will have his own charter. Now the question is, once you build the solution, how can you deploy? I see, two things. One is, once you build the solution, typically in CDO role, if you are heading AIML, one is clear-cut answers we know. That I can deliver it in 2 months. I know everything. I know data. I have everything. I have capabilities. I build it in 2 months. I will 1 month. This kind of solution you can put into your roadmaps, and it is easily doable, right? But what if you are exploring and you are not sure whether it will take 3 months? I am talking about usable solutions. So 3 months or maybe 4 months. How you can put them in roadmaps, their roadmaps. So these are the challenges which I talk about, collaborations and enablement. These are the things from organization point of view, structure point of view, and delivery point of view.
Thank you so much, Chandra. We'll move on to Shabir now.
One question to Shabir.
Yes, definitely. So Shabir will have 2 questions now.
Right, 2 questions. So since there's a clear demarcation of what a CIO, CDO, and CTO will do, and I see your title as CIO and CDO, I hope you're paid twice.
I wish. That's not the case then. So 2 C's in the title, but just payment for 1. Bummer. All right, Shabir. I think most of these things come to Shabir because 2 C's, payment for 1, 2 questions, time for 1 answer. Shabir, what role does communication play in bridging the gap between the technical team and the business side of it, and how can it be improved?
Sure. I think before I answer the question, let me take a step back. John spoke, Reid spoke, Prasad spoke. Everybody is speaking about data. Look at the power of data. Anything and everything which we speak today is because of the data. The disruption which came from ChatGPT was because they had data. The tech team started as EDP, electronic data processing, where people used to come for reports and all this thing. So the mindset was complete on reports, went into IT, went into services function, went into digital function, went into technology function, went into data function. So I think, the tech leaders are the only leaders which have played multiple roles in enabling the business. I used to quote this a lot in my previous organization as One IT, and I sort of shift my gears from One IT to One Aprava. And the reason I shift that gears is precisely coming to your question is collaboration, which he spoke a while back, the communication, the trust which tech leaders has to build with the business function. Today, if you look at all the other business function, sometimes there are some leaders who think they know the digitization best because they attend some conference somewhere. CFO will attend some conference somewhere from say automation anywhere. AP to aisa chala jayega, and then they come and then there's a pressure. So and how do we manage that? So the first thing is today at my role at Aprava, I tell people that I'm not an enabler. I'm a business partner. That's where I shift my gaze from SI Group to Aprava, where I used to use the word as enablers. Now, I say we are transformers, where we partner with the business. So the better the trust you build with the business function, work more collaboratively with the business function, with a clear demarcation of the roles as what is a CIO, CTO, irrespective of the role, what role you're playing. Sometimes people tend to get insecure. I've seen people getting insecure. Sometimes when you try to bring in some thing. It's like a pyramid. A CDO, CIO will speak to one of the business head and he will say, aha, that's great. But when it goes to down the line where the data lies, the input lies, there's a gap of sort of insecurity. So how do we build that gap of trust to have a beautiful triangle to give that power back to the business? And that's where the entire communication lies, the collaboration, building the trust, robustness, working in with partnership, understanding the business processes. So, I used to work for a chemical company, worked almost 22 years before I shifted to an energy company. And the CEO of the company is a European, and he asked me, Shabir, you work for a chemical company and then you're shifting gears to an energy company, how do you manage it? I said, it's technology. And the only role which I will play is precisely bridge the gap between the tech and the business before understanding it. I may take a couple of months more than what you bring a person from a power industry rather than recruiting me, but I will certainly bring value. So that's my stuff, the communication, the trust with all the people. And today, we as I mentioned that somebody was telling me that you guys are enablers. I said no, we are transformers now. We are no more enablers. IT or a digital function is more of a transformers. Gone are the days where Gartner was saying that one IT, one this thing, but those days are gone. It's transforming. Like John mentioned, you wake up in the morning, you see a different technology on AI. There's something on Gen AI, something or that. It's beyond reach, and that's because we all have that data repository somewhere. So that's it.
Absolutely. We'll now come to Marriott. Sir, how can CDOs effectively demonstrate the value of data-driven insights to non-technical stakeholders of the company and then ensure their buy-in?
Yeah, I think the definition is very clear, is that why do organizations need CDOs? I think whatever you call them is now very clear in discussions. But as a board level mandate, when you look at from organizations, when you look at a CEO mandate, MD level mandate, I think the transformation is very, very important. That's what Shabir also covered and Chandra also looked at. The point which is very, very clear is that how is the organization scale up? And in what ways that lead is going to take up by this person who is going to be the enabler. And when you see that this person is going to make a difference, what are the business sense which makes impact? So I think the primary role of the person is to understand the industry which he is in, what he is going to deliver through IT or technology backbone or through data, which is going to be very, very clear. And then talk about the last mile, which is the tool that is going to be played. I think the tool comes the last mile. First is to understand the roadmap, see how the things are going to be evolved, what is the functional requirement, what is the innovation and transformation which is supposed to be delivered, and then the tool complementing that journey. And coming back to the data part, I think there is a clear dimension in data, and without data, probably every organization will be lacking in what they're supposed to be planning or inventing or looking at realistic value and forecasting, which is very, very important. And today I feel there are two types of data which is important. One is your internal data and another is the secondary data or external data which is important. I think amalgamation of both of these has to be very important for every company of yours. And I think John covered it very well. I think enough and more information is available outside. But how can you get it inside and then collate it rightly to be presented internally so that these business users can make better decisions? I think the data part is very critical in making better decisions, giving them insights. So probably we are one organization which we rely on both of these data. And we have seen that how we have looked at enabling our salespeople who are well prepared in terms of going and selling more better, have informed decision as to what each and every customer is able to do business with competition. Obviously, there are certain data which is not available in terms of commercial, the pricing, which is okay to look at. But I think the insight is very, very important in terms of enabling these users with data insight. That is number one. Number two, the data clarity has to be providing information at the speed that is required to be done. And I think the correctness of the data is very important. Otherwise, users will, the reliability factor will go off. I think that is also very important. And the third part is to see that the management has got the right perspective of the data. If you look at certain data, because today, if you look at people operating on various systems, like today I operate on 4 ERPs within the organization, and I say when I want to operate on it, how do I collate the 4 ERPs onto a single data lake or a single structure and then make it available? Because cross-selling is also important. If you're a large organization doing multiple business, how can you use the same data effectively for other areas of your business industry? So I think that part is very, very clear, and the strategy to roadmap on this has to be very clear.
Mr. Patel, you mentioned users having the reliability factor in the company, customers having that reliability factor in the company. From the start of the day, we have been talking so much about data and AI. This question just popped into my head right now. This is something that the government of India, the Prime Minister talks about as well, that is responsible usage of AI, responsible usage of data. How important is that in the current times and in the near and distant future as well?
Yeah, so I'm talking about my organization, very important, is I have a clear roadmap on what I would do with AI. One of the three plans which I am looking at implementing, and already looked at a good amount of dimensions in this implementation plan, is one is that the data intelligence with AI has to work within the ERP that you run. So we, as an organization, have adopted Python and Angular. And why these open source technologies? Because they have great dimensions. And I've seen results coming out which are completely breakthrough than the normal ones. We will not name anybody. But that is a structure that I have looked at. Now, when I talk about that, this is the CIO, CTO, CDO role coming in. That when you choose a technology, I think the business is only a guiding force. You as that leader has to choose the right technology which needs to be implemented. And we've taken a step towards that. So that is one thing. The second part is that the AI can do a lot of processing of your documentation, your RPA-based robotic processing, which can be eradicating or reducing the manual work which is required. I think that is another piece. And the third piece is the generative AI part. So when you look at a Gen AI, I don't want the generalization of data which can be of no use to my organization. I want my data to work on the Gen AI eventually. And that probably is something that can be looked at the next stage. In short, to explain.
Shabir, I'll come to you with the next question. In what ways can business leaders like you all collaborate with the data teams to identify the most critical data needs and then prioritize those data initiatives?
I think I answered a bit of it, but let me elaborate on that one. I think, one is, of course, the communication, getting into the business shoes, the tech leaders. So unless we don't do that, unless we do not talk the business language, that would really fail. And I've seen a lot of projects failing. Recently, I was reading an article on Gartner where they said almost 30 to 40% of Gen AI use cases are going to fail. And there was a lot of debate amongst a lot of CIOs that that report is not right. And I said, it's right, it's right. And they have a lot of merits in saying that because, unless there is a strong bond between data owners and the data custodians in bringing that value, Gen AI or for that matter any AI would fail. So that message which I drive is that annihilate bureaucracy is one of the things when it comes to taking the right data decisions. Look at the way the world transformed. I used it a while back. The way initially in earlier days we were relying on writers to store our physical data. Today we are no more relying on that. We went from on-prem to cloud and all this thing. We digitized this. Today we are completely on cloud. We have the power right in our hands. So that collaboration is the key.
Absolutely. We are almost towards the end of the roundtable. I have one question left that I want all of you to answer. But we will request you all to keep the answer crisp because we then move on to questions from our audiences as well. This question is, what is the one message that you would like the audience, your peers here, to be the main takeaway from this panel discussion?
For me is data democratization. A lot of the times in organization, data is not available to every person in a form and shape that he can understand. So that's one if I want to give something away from this discussion is how we can all enable data to people so that they can actually make good decisions with that and things will move faster and not rely on certain individuals for that data. So we should make it accessible. And second thing is with all the generative AI piece and all, can we all connect this particular data to the generative AI so that there are more powerful insights that can come, because people cannot basically read the data, people are not skilled enough to kind of analyze reports and things like that. So can we simplify it for them? So that is overall my 2 cents.
Thank you so much, Rohit. Mr. Patel?
I think the only point is think beyond. I think everything is possible to do. Nothing is not possible as a scenario now. The point here is that if you look at a dimension which is never thought about before, and you being in that position for your organization as a transforming leader, I think drive that for the organization, which is very, very important.
Thank you so much, Mr. Patel. Mr. Prasad?
From my side, I think usability and the way whatever solution you build or product you build, whether it could be dashboards or AI ML or even hardcore products across which being used in the organization or outside the organization, please keep in mind that it's been built for users, and how they use is more relevant, and we should build our solution, whether it be its data products, normal products, any other technology. So that's one from my side.
Thank you so much, Mr. Prasad. Shabir?
I'll steal away Mr. Patel's statement, reach beyond, but I would add a suffix, the reach beyond possible. The one thing which we are all seeing is the DPDP, which is all above our head. So one thing, there's a lack of ownership amongst a lot of organizations we have spoken of. So take a lead there, get the gap assessment done, and ensure that the organization is ready for DPDP. Then you'll see the real benefits of Gen AI too.
Thank you so much, Shabir. That was a very, very enlightening roundtable panel discussion. I am very sure that you all have questions of yourselves as well. So we will pass on the mics to you guys. We will pass on multiple mics, and then whoever has a question, please raise your hand. Of course, I was very sure that there were going to be questions.
This is, and anyone can answer that. So this is related to the collaboration theme. How do you coach your team members to collaborate with a varying set of stakeholders? You know, some stakeholders are enthusiastic, very willing to go. Some others different. Different people perceive value in different ways. Someone will say "paisa dikhao," someone will say something else. So I think many a times our data team members are not so trained in their college or otherwise to engage with people on these human issues. They are more trained on technical. So what strategies or what approaches have you used to create that collaboration skill among your team members?
I'll talk about use case basis so that it's more obvious, because if we take a broad approach, it's not that clear. For example, if you talk about CIO, I'll give you an example. CIO, which builds your infrastructure, or CTO, which takes care of either your product solutions or maybe deployment, something like this. So when we talk about them, typically it's more like what's their plan. So collaboration means what their plan. So it starts from business, whatever metrics they have to achieve in a quarter. Then there comes to all the direct reports of CDO. In most of the time, I have reported to CDO. So whatever DRs of them, it will translate to their roadmaps, and then there comes, down the line, whatever the team you mentioned, whatever people are there. So one sort of collaboration lies between inside the team, and because fragments of it would be led by those either team leads or maybe people among them. Second is cross teams, cross-functional collaboration. Now here, what I have seen is making somebody responsible, spot, clear-cut spot, that whatever comes, there are no three spots, just one spot. It will help you achieve, because he will streamline. And this we have seen across companies, even strong. And second is timeline. Goals and timelines. If you clearly define goals among the companies, even CTO and whatever CDO or maybe CIO, across, you can remove I and put any X. If there is clarity what you want to achieve, and then you have a timeline. These are very talked about things, but very critical things. I have seen myself failures of the projects, few failures, in initial stages. If you don't put a timeline, and I'll give you an example. We have built MahindraVision.ai. It's a platform like AWS. You can bring your images and you can train your models. It's like platform, like AWS, neck to neck. We have built in 18 days, 18 functional days, 18 working days. If I ask you, whatever development team you have, whatever product team you have, you cannot build. I have seen very strategic guys, very development guys. They cannot. They put their hands up. They cannot build. So the question is, when you are designing, put a timeline, make a SPOC, make clear-cut plans, and then have communication around them. And this is again more clear things. If you can drive the communication well, that this is the timeline, this is the goal, this is what we need to achieve, there are the people they will do, and this is either monthly. So if it's a team-wise communication, inter-team communication, frequency, cadence, and then it's intra-team, again, who is the SPOC from their side. So it's not just my team, it's their SPOC too. Same hierarchy, same structure. And then you talk to them with the particular cadence, and then you achieve the goal. And then whatever timelines you have set, it's very clear. This I have seen driving results.
Thank you so much, Mr. Prasad.
I'll just add on to
Yes,
this.
totally.
Because we have a live case. So what we have done is we have created a center of excellence. Now, the center of excellence is a mix of people who operate. The mix of people means you have the IT team involved, the data person involved, the functional person also involved in the whole journey of seeing that what is the end result that needs to be followed. Now, everybody will think I am the geek. वो बोले मेरे को सब कुछ मालूम है. वो हमेशा यही बोलेगा मेरे को मेरे एरिया मालूम है, तू मेरा इंटरफेयर मत कर. And this is the point that comes as a conflict area and communication. But let the conflicts happen. I'm telling you, the conflicts are important to happen because you get to know the next level of things in this discussion. And these are healthy conflicts because it perceives you to make better decisions. And I've seen that it gives you good results there. And I specifically monitor this into driving a situation saying that when do I end the conflict and get the result? I think that is something I
I think that's a great answer, Mr. Patel. Conflicts are important. Nobody really wants just yes men around them, right? Sir, your question?
So, yeah, I mean, I just wanted to ask, I think the elephant in the room when it comes to conflict and collaboration is obviously in adoption and, the acceptance, the change management around the projects that you do. I think Prasad was talking about project failures and he said some. I would just change that to many. I think the stats are clear. Jagdish keeps talking about, keeps talking about the famous 70-30 or 80-20 rule, which is the failures are significantly more than the successes, at large projects. Of course, we're all very good at eventually putting forward a slide that makes it look okay. But I think we all understand that if you look at claimed benefits versus delivered benefits, I think 70-30 is actually much more accurate if we have to be frank. I think my question to you guys is really if you look at the entire ownership for change management, which is where the whole collaboration comes in, because largely you are agreed what to do. To some extent you even agreed on how to do it. But then you always get into these lovely bickering around hua ki nahi hua. Did it change anything on the ground? Are people doing new things? Especially when it comes to good-looking technology. So I'm just curious to hear from you guys, and maybe Prithvi needs to say, what's your take on ownership for change management, not only in the alphabet soup in tech, but between business and tech?
So do you have someone specific you want the answer from?
I think any one of them.
Anyone? Okay, why?
Maybe Maria, we can start.
Sure, I think, and a great question, I was really loving that question, 70-30, because we as an organization are undergoing a similar thing. We started with something known as GROW acronym, which is growth mindset, result orientation, openness to change, and working with synergies. And where I was personally involved along with the HR team, because when we moved from SAP to Oracle, and I just joined around that time, there was a big failures, And one thing which I highlighted to my HR team was the biggest missing piece was OCM, the organization change management. I had seen people not participating in the UATs and other stuff, and as a result of which there are quite a few process failures. The business came across in this organization कि वो IT का process है, वो IT को देखना है हमारे process में line करना है. Change the mindset. SAP में ऐसा होता था, Oracle में ऐसा नहीं हो रहा है. One of the classic use case Aprava has undergone moved from SAP to Oracle. Now, the other key thing which, I use it and it works very successful is the sandwich approach. People talk of top-down, bottom-up. I said doesn't work at all. Top-down approach also भी नहीं चलता है, bottom-up approach भी नहीं चलता है. The moment it is a sandwich approach, if you as a tech leader build that that sandwich, the upper layer, the bottom layer, and build the nice things inside to give that vision back to the business, that's where the entire crux lies, and that's where we're actually working for.
I got some use cases which are important and which is good learning. I think the pudding has to be eaten in terms of a success factor which is delivered, and then you know that where you are. I think that is what business is looking at you for. Now, there were some clear dimensions which were working earlier, like an OCR read were not so much successful earlier. And the accuracy levels were literally not up to the mark. So business said that when you read an OCR from whatever the document is, will it give you 100% accuracy? I think that is what a business demands. I don't want to click to operate on it and see and then put it. Now the situation has come that people are reaching that 100% level. And that probably is something that if it is implemented properly, it is a clear business case that is delivered. So in my logistics situation, I have one use case which I have delivered, which used to take almost 40 minutes of a process, because we have to mandatorily file a shipment onto an organization, a central authority, which is called an ICE gate. That process was taking almost 40 minutes. The complete process in terms of documentation, loading it, blah, blah, blah. You moved it onto an AI automation with just 3 minutes working on it. Now, when you see these use cases getting built up over a period of time, you see that the successes are gained. And I think over a period of business trusts you, saying that why don't you take more of these use cases, build a lot of other things which are required. So I think the trust factor, the communication factor, and the point of proving and saying that yes, I have done it, will prepare an organization to a next scale.
Thank you, sir. We only have 3 minutes. We'd like to take maybe 1 or 2 more questions. So sorry. We'll try to take 1 or 2 more questions. We only have 3 more minutes.
Yeah,
Please pass the mic to sir.
I'm here.
Sir in the yellow shirt.
I already.
Oh yes, sir already had it. Please, go ahead.
We were giving the reference of Tare Zameen Par, and every day in the morning we get up, we find new toys. So how do you balance, and this can be answered, the urge of experimentation towards, or actually waiting and seeing the maturity, like you spoke about OCR right now. Earlier it was not there, and now you can see the benefit. How do you balance the urge of experimentation with these new toys or new hammers which come out where everybody wants to bang your head with, or really waiting and saying, let's wait and watch?
Yeah, I mean, it's again aligned towards the business goals, right? So if it is solving a business problem, there's no harm in looking at an R&D proof of concept first and then scaling it up, rather than just doing it for sake of doing. So we have a clear policy that AI use cases will be only used for business delivery per se, and not to show off. So whatever vendors that we work with, we are only trying to see if it is solving a real problem. Are we empathizing with our users? Are we really solving to that ground level? If an AI solution is doing that, we are actually looking at it. And one use case that we are building is build your own home. So we're using generative AI, a combination of AI ML products, where a user who's building his homes can look at our tiles, look at our other products, and I can share and create mood boards with his architects, interior designers. So, I mean, there was solution, but it was also solving a problem. So a combination of this kind of really worked on. We built a POC and we're scaling it up.
Just a follow-up on that, do you have a graveyard of POCs? I'm sorry, I'm putting a very, we may not have had relevance or an application of scale at that time, but now in the future when the technology has matured, or you can go back to that graveyard and dig that grave and saying, okay, let's bring that skeleton back up and make it live. I think that's...
Yeah, we have that. Don't call it a graveyard. I think one of the point is we can't wait and watch now. It's absolutely clear that organizations have to adopt an AI roadmap. And I think the best part is to have a POC, have a success rate of a factor which needs to have a tick within your organization, and that need not come from a CDO, it has to come from the business side. And that part has to be very clear. So you test 3-4 technologies and say this is the party chosen, and then you move ahead. Probably that would be a better approach to say that there are less graveyard POCs or AI implementations.
We will take 1 more question, sir. I know you have a question and many others as well, but I assure you that in the round table, everybody's going to be involved and all questions and answers will be answered. But for the panel discussion now, we'll take sir's question as the last.
Yeah, this is actually a follow-up to Mr. what Patel said. This is around, and what Mr. Anish said. So if you talk about the ownership aspect, right, and you pointed out that it's business driven. So now when we are talking about priorities, business has definitely different priorities from technology, right? I mean, technology wants to be advanced, wants to think of the future. The business is more focused on delivering what it has to deliver and business outcomes. So when we talk about collaboration, right, has collaboration in some form diluted the ownership? Right? Because there's a very fine line, because the priorities might be different, the funding structure is different. So how do you collaborate on the aspect of ownership when it comes to that?
Yeah, so the point is very clear. I think the ownership factor of a CDO is not going away. He is still leading it. And when you have taken up a job to deliver, I think there cannot be a finger pointing to others when you're going to deliver. I think you are going to drive that collaboration within your organization and say that I am going to be the leader and the end result is something that I will deliver. I think that cannot be seen as saying that, okay, somebody else will take the responsibility because business is not involved. Because as a product delivery, it cannot be saying that I am going to deliver this product and not being of a value till the end of it.
But yeah, we'll continue during the table discussions, I think.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Mr. Patel. Ladies and gentlemen, that was the roundtable discussion. Mr. Chintawar, Mr. Patel, Mr. Prasad, and Mr. Batra. Absolutely amazing. Can we have a round of applause for them, please?